The Hunter Biden trial in Delaware adjourning for the day. The big headline, Hunter himself may be called to the witness stand as the defense presents its case. Let's bring in Mercedes Colwin and Mark Eiglarsh to talk more about this. Mercedes, what do you think of the wisdom of putting Hunter on the stand?
That is such a critical question that all defense attorneys have to ask themselves whether or not they want to put their client on the stand. Will they satisfy the cross-examination? Because frankly, that blistering cross-examination is real. Hunter Biden has made a lot of comments. He's written a book about his addiction. You already heard parts of it where he narrated parts of his book. That was already introduced to the jury. Will he be able to withstand that cross-examination? But at the end of the day, the defense has to show that when he filled out those forms, he filled them out truthfully. What's the intent when he filled out no, that he was not an addict of narcotic drugs? He can say, I didn't believe I was an addict. I was in recovery. I hadn't been using drugs in a long time. I will be the first one to tell you that I have fought this my adult life, and I really was in the fight, in the thick of it and fighting it. I didn't believe I was an addict. If the jury believes him, home run, game over, he's exonerated.
Yeah. And Mark, this is what I'm wondering about. I mean, it would seem pretty cut and dry, pretty clear, because we've got the video of Hallie Biden throwing away the gun. There was cocaine residue on the pouch that the gun was in. You've got the employee from the gun store saying, I watched him fill out the form right in front of me. He checked no on the question that asked if you were addicted to or a user of illicit drugs. But if he puts himself on the stand, he weaves a tale for the jury that may just satisfy what Jonathan Turley believes is the defense's prime strategy, and that is jury nullification. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't like it. Look, 99% of the time in the 30-plus years I've been trying cases, I don't put my clients on the stand because it shouldn't have to come down to that. I can't control how my clients are going to do on the stand. He may do great in rehearsal, but when he takes that witness stand, boy, you never know what could happen. So I don't love it. I think that the defense should have been able, through their witnesses, through opening statement, through even jury selection, to convey that they have to literally look at the form as, did he use on that day? That was the understanding. An addict is such an abstract concept. A lot of people are in denial about it. He might not have objectively thought he was one, so he wouldn't make him a liar. You can argue that after securing some of that testimony through witnesses, that you then can avoid putting him on the stand and risking everything.
So, Mercedes, the First Lady, Jill Biden, has been in court every day except for yesterday when she had to accompany the president in Paris. Here's the media reaction on the role that she is playing here. Listen to this.
I've been told by advisors, even though he is overseas, he is still keeping tabs of the trial. The White House does not have a war room. The White House does not have a representative in Wilmington.
Yeah, the First Lady's been shuttling between the trial in Delaware and France, just to be at the side of Hunter Biden.
There really was no question for the First Lady that she wanted to be on hand for this trial, really forcing her to navigate and juggle her responsibilities as First Lady while also trying to serve that all-important role of being a mother.
Well, you can look at it from that perspective, that, you know, she's Hunter's stepmom and she wants to be there for the trial. But then at the same time, is there this idea, Mercedes, of subtly sending a signal to the jury, remember who's on trial here?
John, I am so befuddled by any criticism of a concerned parent who's going to the trial of their child. It doesn't matter if it's stepchild. This is her child. She helped raise him. That he may be facing 25 years in prison if he's convicted of all three charges. It is absolutely reasonable for her to be there. Frankly, if she wasn't there, I'm sure the criticism would be opposite, that she's callous, she doesn't care, she's putting the optics over the care and love that she has for her child. It is absolutely reasonable for her to be there.
Mark, quick final thought.
I agree with her, but to your point, there is a subtle message to them. She's not just an average mother. That said, no criticism. She is a mother, and anyone else who wouldn't be out there supporting their loved ones, they're being intellectually dishonest.
All right, Mark Eiglarsh and Mercedes Colwin, good to have you with us today. I hope you have a good weekend. We'll be back at it next week. Sandra?
You too.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.